Awesome. We just had an amazing hike and walk and talk to kind of like reflect on some stuff that we have been working on for Askara. And this is the official first episode, first company vlog that we're gonna attempt in our social media adventure around this initiative as well. Right? Do we need introductions now? That's boring. Let's skip that.
You're boring.
You're boring me. Let's not bore each other with introductions.
He's Ben. I'm Simon. We're Askara.
Exactly. We started this, and that's enough. And we want to share a bit on like the first steps that we took and the considerations that we made in it. Why we and some really key practical issues that we have addressed in that. But then specifically, it's important to mention in the frame of self-managing organizations and new ways of working, and the kind of challenges that you run into by actually applying a lot of theoretical frameworks into practice and the things that you run into. Right? Anything to add on that as an intro?
No, I think that sounds good.
Awesome. So where
do you want to start?
I think it's good to maybe give a little bit of context that we're now about 6 months, like half a year. And throughout these 6 months, we have been puzzling with all these different frameworks that we both feel a lot of excitement about, and that's also actually the way that we got to know each other through this type of coaching program around source work, and where we really clicked and where we thought that like, okay, this is something of value, this relationship, we need to cherish that, we need to do something with this, we need to build something together. And it's really out of that ecosystem, out of that climate, where both our interests really align in all these different types of frameworks and we want areas, new ways of working, that we really felt like if we're gonna start something new, then it needs to be, of course, without a doubt, in that kind of approach. Right?
Yep.
And then basically we founded our company in Estonia.
Why did we do that?
That's actually that's probably better for you to explain, because you are really the one that took that initiative.
Okay. I've done it before. Estonia has a great digital entrepreneurship program, supported by their e-residency program. It provides some great benefits and ease for entrepreneurs to start a new company.
Just very quickly, it's super efficient.
All online, extremely cost effectively.
Yeah.
And there's
no bullshit around administration. You just pay a monthly thing. They take care of all the bookkeeping.
That's right. Management
awesome.
And taxes and everything is all super easy. So without going into any more boring stuff, that was a very easy decision to make, I think.
But it's a nice segue to kind of like use that. Is that also there is like a plethora of templates for all kinds of legal documents that you needed to for the inception of these organizations.
The whole ecosystem is there to support like entrepreneurs and new startups, new ventures, right? So it's very easy to find, as you say, the templates and legal advice and best practice and things.
Yeah.
So.
And in an attempt to avoid this to become really boring, we thought it would be nice to talk about contracts.
Yeah, great place to start. Let's park that. We'll come back to the contract.
The stakeholder agreement. I thought would be an exemplary point to have like a very exciting conversation.
Yeah, so one of the really exciting things about founding a company is that you have to very quickly go into some boring legalese and contract documents to formalize things, right? So one of the great things about Estonia is that's minimal, but they're still there.
Yeah.
Let's come back to that.
And what we run into also, like, while working with these templates, is that it's very much still traditional ways of working and thinking.
Yes, yeah.
And it still needed a lot of adaptation in order to make things like source work fit in, things like sociocracy fit in for decision making, because
so
it's
you're
all
introducing
about
some of our favorite frameworks.
I'm already putting down the talking points for
Okay.
the audience to follow the conversation easily. So like, fitting in source work into that, decision making, consent-based decision making, sociocratically, and then this third topic of slicing pie, which is requires a bit more explanation.
So what you're saying is that some of these ways that we wanted to do things, we immediately recognized that they weren't really represented well addressed.
Exactly, that was the first challenge, the first practical challenge. Like, there's all this theory, but do you then just start your company
How many
with
shares?
these basic?
How many shares do you get? How many do I get?
Like,
For example, was one of the first questions, wasn't it?
yeah. Okay. No. Okay. I like it. That's great way to put the whole equity conversation. Yeah. Around slicing pie.
So I was wanting to draw on that 51-49 split as a way of saying how we were aligning that in our minds with this idea of sourced and respecting the creative field of Askara, and what that meant from like a decision-making process.
Exactly. So how do you create a kind of tiebreaker mechanism in all of this, while still trying to be
Potentially not owning the majority of the shares in the company.
as a source. Yeah, because that could definitely end up that way.
Right.
If you follow the dynamic type of
So source
equity
principles.
decision. But I think that's as a way to kind of like frame the discussion. It's probably enough, and we should like hit these key talking points of like where we felt like we ran into some practical challenges, where we came up with the solution through smart combination of these frameworks, and then also making that reflect that in the stakeholder agreement that we just signed this morning.
Right. So where do you want to start?
Yeah. So there's these three things: source in terms of leadership, sociocracy in terms of decision making, and slicing pie in terms of equity allocation. That are all the kinds of topics that need to have footing in a stakeholder agreement, shareholder agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one first interesting thing with source to address, and how we kind of like found a very nice way to formalize that framework into something of a quality management system that's actually also certifiable, and that you can make it compliant with something like an ISO 9001 standard. One of the first like nice little insights that we got by working with these creative fields and trying to map that on a little bit more standard traditional frameworks of how to organize your organization, like decide on what kind of functions you need within your thing. So there's this standard framework that's used a lot.
Right.
It's called MOS. Like, you have management processes, operational processes, and support processes.
Right.
And where does source fit in? If you can fit source in that thing, then you have a story that you can explain to an auditor and base like KPIs and goal setting and steering your organization.
So at Askara, what you're saying is we don't use the word functions or departments, but we have Source provides us with a way of organizing, structuring the company, the way we work, that can still be understood and recognized.
Exactly. And then where Source is very much talking about creative fields and subfields within the creative field of the source, that can be quite easily mapped on terms like business functions or departments, or you can easily explain that still in that kind of
traditional language.
Traditional language. Yeah.
Right.
And where the little insight came in was that where the managerial processes are really the ones that kind of steer the operation. So you set certain goals in a year plan to have a sense of direction and budget allocation for the coming year. That's where actually Source really comes in clarifying like what's the next thing that needs to be focused on in order to realize the creative vision of the source, and what kind of aims and objectives can we formulate around all of that. And then that translates into the projects that you're going to do, the allocations of budget that you're going to do. And that really made it click for me in that moment when I understood, like, okay, so source alignment is basically your goal setting and your steering, your management layer of the organization is when I thought, like, okay, yes, now it fits with quality management, ISO 9000, and you can basically,
hooray, exciting!
You can certify the fucker.
I'm excited.
Doesn't get much more exciting than that. Yeah. But it's a great practical example, or like a great example of a practicality to overcome.
To be able to kind of translate between a kind of one.
But this is probably the least interesting one of all of them. So,
you've been warned. It's going to get more exciting.
Get quickly move on to the next one. And because I think a nice little way to continue on to the next topic.
The next topic being
consent decision making.
Okay.
And where there's this practical problem with sociocracy that is.
So just back up a second. Yeah. Consent-based decision making is a component of sociocracy, which is a way of helping organize and make decisions within a company, but it's not doing it in what we would call a traditional way.
Yeah, consent.
So it's
consensus or like only specific management people.
Particular people or roles are able to make decisions unanimously or unilaterally.
Yeah. And where you just kind of like disregard big chunks of people in an organization, and an organization is only its people. So it's just there's all kinds of dysfunctional practices or consequences that come from.
So without going into all of that.
So that's where indeed consent decision making is having a counter proposal to making decisions in a different way. But then sociocracy comes with its own challenges, with its own problems, where making a consent-based decision, which means basically that you continue finding or tweaking a proposal to do a certain course of action, as long as there's no objections from anybody in the team anymore to the way that you're going to pursue a certain thing. And that's basically so the non-objection part of that. And the problem is, and now comes the key word.
Right, so that's what I was trying to get to. I've heard you out there with the theory. What's the real problem with sociocracy or sociocratic consent-based decision making.
Yeah, so the problem is that you can end up in this kind of facetious impasse.
There we go. There's your Easter egg. An impasse.
An impasse in all kinds of like efficiency in just moving forward with certain things. Like there is situations where you're just not able to find consent and people
And address all the
objections, and,
right.
and just it takes out all the momentum. It can take out all the momentum out
right,
of,
and you end up spending too long trying to address all of the objections, not actually making a decision and being able to move forward.
Yeah,
Spinning your wheels.
exactly.
As a startup, that's a danger, right?
Yeah, for sure, because you want to move fast.
We want to move fast, we'll be able to make agile decisions. We
There's
can always correct
momentum.
them.
Yeah.
We can always come back and address them or course adjust, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because indeed you
But we don't want to get
propose for temporary.
we don't want to get stuck in long decision-making cycles. Okay, so we've identified the problem.
Yeah, so the that's a little bit of
So how does Source help us address this issue of sociocracy?
and yeah, exactly. And the way that because that's also how we ended up building this stakeholder thing where there were all these questions about like if you need to have majority decision voting, 2/3 needs to be represented and all that kind of stuff. Like
simple majorities versus
yeah. That's the kind of things that you were not able to like that doesn't really fly well with sociocracy. So you need to rethink how you're then gonna write that down.
Yeah, because what we didn't want to do is like on an operational team level use consent-based decision making, but then on a shareholder or founder level
Exactly.
be using a different way of making decisions, essentially the traditional way based on number of shares.
Just because you're lazy to rethink.
Right. So
That,
we wanted to
template proper. Yeah. So it needs
be consistent with
in the DNA. I would like to refer to it like the way that I think these contracts or kind of agreements that you sign together, that you really put your you mark in blood, basically. Let's talk it in that, as the way it was done through the Indians
in the old days.
with the Indians. Then, you put your signature. This is part of your, an extension of yourself, like your DNA.
Right.
I would like to see a contract as. So whatever, if that's incongruent, if there's inconsistency there, then you will basically have a wrong foundation to build things on.
Right. So come back to Source.
Yeah.
How does Source help us address this issue then of getting to an impasse?
Yeah. So this is just like
particularly, for example, as co-founders who are essentially equal partners. How does Source,
with equal voices,
with a consent-based decision making, we could quite easily get to a point where we're at an impasse over an important.
It's very handy that we found that word.
Yeah,
because now we can use it a lot.
It's a good word, impasse.
So the one of these core foundations or principles of source work is that it needs to be acknowledged that there's only one person that holds the vision and knows really feels it in its core, has this energetic connection to what is being realized here. And it can only be that one person. And bringing it back to how this is fixing this core problem of sociocracy is that basically it only needs to understand that you adhere to the source being the one that is able to break a tie or break an impasse. If you end up, of course you try everything in your power to avoid it. and to really reach this state of no objection. And
Yep.
but there can be also due to all kinds of external circumstances that you just have an asshole that just wants to block the road for some reason because he feels wronged, that it's just impossible to reach consent anymore.
Right.
And then, for example, it's necessary that you have this person that can just make sure that the decision that is being made is indeed in line with the original intent, with the creative vision. Oh, awesome. That it all started off with.
Just catching the views.
Yeah.
Sorry for the.
That's really cool. That's great. And that's putting that in the contract, we basically Control F all the words where it says vote or majority, and replace it with decision making, and really and at the point that also source needed to be properly introduced and recognized in this legal document.
So we explicitly recognize you as source.
It was my name indeed.
Yeah.
Like,
so we've
needs to be.
this is in our shareholder agreement. We explicitly recognize Ben as source. We've removed any of the traditional language around voting rights, and majorities, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And replaced those with, as you said, with the decision making and reference to consent-based decision making and objection resolution. And then finally, one of the interesting things, and I think this is the most empowering part of the shareholder agreement really, is we incorporated the idea of source and some special voting rights for source.
Exactly.
To either approve or reject a decision, or approve or veto a resolution or a decision making, to avoid this impasse.
Yeah, if it
should it ever
come to
occur,
pass.
and as a last resort.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
And I think that's a perfect place to just kind of end this topic as well.
well, there's a segue here,
Okay.
because what else did we put into the shareholder agreement?
Going towards the final discussion point of how we were incorporating also slicing pie in these legal documents, because that's like this beautiful solution to the whole equity division problematic of a startup. It creates all kinds of secondary issues and problems that a lot of startups would actually fail on.
The traditional way
Which is not even the core, their core. Like it doesn't even fail on their core technology or anything outside of that.
right.
All these
And
kinds
so,
of
so
stupid reasons.
the problem in a nutshell comes from the traditional approach being a fixed equity model. We decide up front how much each shareholder owns in the business, with no guarantees and no easy ways of readjusting that, when the reality of a startup is that things are continually changing. People come into the company, people decide to leave, efforts, motivations change, waver, increase, etc. And it becomes very hard every time in theory you have to readjust all of it, right?
Exactly.
It becomes very stressful, very difficult.
Yeah. And what slicing pie allows is a framework that can just create an opportunity to talk all these things over, and then where the other things that we talked about beautifully click into this is that sociocracy is then offering this beautiful governance system to make decisions on how specific contributions of people are valued, recognized, and crafted, and how they impact, because a specific contribution or somebody changing something about how they want to see their contribution changed reflects on everybody that is owning slices in the pie. So that needs to be consented. It needs to be agreed upon by everybody as well. It needs to
Firstly,
be open and transparently
exactly.
reached.
It requires
a fair-
transparency, so it aligns with our desire to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
It requires
So that,
that.
yeah. So that's where basically that tendency of like everybody is owning part of the pie, so everybody needs to be heard. That just fits seamlessly with sociocracy, and sociocracy is giving you the governance system to make decisions around this, and then Source gives you the solution, the fix to sociocracy to overcome any kind of impasse. Boom! That's a wrap. And we had a beautiful, gorgeous hike. You saw all the B-roll as part of the things that we've seen while we were walking. You want to say bye? Awesome. It's a wrap. Subscribe, like, and follow for more beautiful, interesting insights
From Askara.
from Askara and new ways of working.